Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. SoutheastTermite.com is where you can learn more about this fantastic group. Been in business since 1971. I use them at my home, trust them completely. Whether you need crawl space encapsulation, whether you need pest control, whether you need the fall invader treatment, which I'm guessing they could probably still squeeze that in, Southeast Termite and Pest Control is the way to go. SoutheastTermite.com. Check them out today. Also, check this out right now. UT's defensive stats on the season and versus Kentucky. Points per game. Now, you got 3 crummy games that were thrown in there, but 21 points. I think we would have taken that before the season as your average. You only give up 6 to Kentucky. I did not see that coming anywhere in the future. Rush yards per attempt allowed, only 2.9 on the season. It was like 2.99 last night, so it rounded to a 3. But only 2.9 yards per rush on the season. And you've played 5 ranked teams. That's pretty darn good. Rush TDs allowed. You've allowed 10. Passing yards per attempt, 6.8. You see the numbers all last night were better than their averages. Third down conversions. Remember how bad that was last year. They gave up 50% conversions on the road last year. They're down to 30.7% overall this year on third down conversions allowed. Sacks, 21 on the year, 4 last night against Will Levis. Red zone TDs, 15 out of 32 trips. And takeaways, they got 16 on the year. All right, I want to introduce over at our VFL table, we got Daniel Hood joining us. So Daniel, thank you for being with us today. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I want to throw it over, and we'll let Will steer this boat since he's been with me the longest. I'll let you drive it. So the question is, guys, we talked earlier this year, Marlon and I, about how defenses can sometimes play above themselves. They get on a roll, and you can sometimes overplay the talent level because you're starting to feel it. You're starting to get that confidence. Do you think that's what's happening with Tennessee right now?
Daniel, I'll let you start on this case.
I think so. And I think this has really started with what the coaches and how they've coached the last 18 months or 2 years now. When you go to this practice, it's not like your old school practices where you got coaches cussing you out on every single little thing, or some of the guys that we played with. They're celebrating these guys' successes every single play, and it's making it a fun environment to play in.
One of the things I saw last night that stood out to me, this defense is definitely gaining confidence.
Right.
Will Levis is driving the ball. Kentucky's kind of keeping up. They just put points on the board. They're driving again. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, we need to stop. We need to stop. We need a turnover, right? We get the big hit. Mitchell gets the ball, runs the ball back, and literally I played that in my head. And for me, it's you can tell the confidence these guys have. They understand the pressure of the game, and they understand at that point in time we can't rely on offense. We need to make a play here, and that was huge last night.
So I'm going to give a little bit of credit because I talked to Sterl right during this break, and Sterl made a great point. Who does this team practice against every day? They're practicing against the number 1 offense. Eventually, you learn a few things from that, and you start getting a lot better at that. I also think there's something freeing. If I'm a DB, if I give up a touchdown, what's my confidence that I lost us the game? I'm still sitting there going, well, you know what? They can drive back down and score this and make up. So I think it also gives you a little bit more risk-taking in that you're sitting there going, okay, I don't have to be as nervous as I'm used to. I can go out there, and if I make a mistake, my offense will cover me. Yeah. And I just think all of those things coming together, and eventually, we always have to talk about it. When a team becomes great, it doesn't matter about the individual parts. When they play together as a group, there's something magical that happens. And right now, you have to look at this team and say they've got that. And they're just playing off each other, and it's next man up, I'll cover you. Yep. You had a bad play, I'm going to do it this time. And it just really looks like that is a lot of guys that not only are having fun, but like playing together. And that just makes a great locker room.
And here's the other part. Here's my hot take for this segment. Yes, our offense is number 1 in the nation. They're explosive. They score a ton of points a game. But when you're in a defensive staff room, your coach is pointing out everything you did not do correct. And even though we're winning these ball games, that defensive staff and those defensive players are still trying to figure out how can we get better. At the end of the day, yes, we celebrate the offense. Offense is amazing. What Heupel's doing this year is off the charts. But you got to understand in those defensive rooms, those defensive guys want some of that spotlight as well. Hey, how can we get better? How can we get acknowledgement for what we're doing? So I think as long as they're taking that mindset and they're constantly growing as a defense, because that's what I saw last night, we look completely different. this team is going to get better for sure.
And I think the biggest part of it too is they know what they're supposed to be doing. They know that our job's to get turnovers, our job's to get sacks, our job's to get hits on the quarterback, and there's no doubt about it. You know, they may give up a few points here or there, but man, when it comes to making a play, they've hit every single quarterback this year. You know, they've got plenty of turnovers. Tennessee's huge positive in the turnover margin.
All right, John. Defense is getting a lot better, and we're impressed by it, and I continue to see improvement, so hopefully we see that next week.
Very good. Thanks, guys. You'll be back with us a little bit later in the show. But next, Justin Hamilton and Sterling Hinton join us to talk about this offensive system. Defensive coaches, good defensive coaches, know what's coming. They practice it. They talk about practicing it. And yet, when they see these same things happen on the field, their players melt down. We'll discuss that next on the Sports Source. Come on back.